and welcome to the 39th edition of Keen Minds. I am Jen, aka Takata Cycle.
And I am Tessa from Criminally Sane.
And we're doing things a little odd tonight because Tessa's in New York and she got stuck in New York traffic. So, and because I'm going to be traveling all weekend, we're recording on Thursday night. So she's actually on her cell phone recording this. So we apologize for any odd sounds or random honking or, comments towards other drivers.
Stop sirens, all those fun things in New York. But alas, this is where the Blacklist is being recorded, so...
The real reason you live there, right?
Yep.
And I'll be there in December. Very excited. I'm looking forward to my New York trip. Going and set stocking.
Yay! That should be fun.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun.
Aren't we excited about the fifth season of the Blacklist?
Oh, okay, so I have to admit, I sat there, I watched it live. I know a lot of people that I've talked to online are having trouble with the earlier slot. For me personally, because I tend to go to sleep relatively early, it was perfection for me, because it gives me enough time to work through some thoughts afterwards and watch it again afterwards and all of that. And so, it took, for the majority of the episode, I sat there and said, this is a good episode, but it's kind of slow for the first one back, and it feels like it's just setting up all the issues that they're going to be, tackling this season with Liz and Red and all of this. And I'm like, and that's great. Like, I was entertained, but I wasn't just enthralled like I love to be with the Blacklist. And then at the end of it, I start seeing, I kind of felt like Liz the entire time. At the end of it, it all just sort of clicked, and I see these people that he's bringing in, that he's basically hiring, that he's been going through this interview with these people the entire time to hire them into his organization. And I'm going, Raymond Reddington, you brilliant, brilliant man, I love you.
Yeah, I had a feeling that everything that was being done had a reason for it, that Red is not the kind to kind of bumble around. But I just loved the general dynamic of the show. I love that kind of lightness, and I love that Liz this time is the one that was wrong, because most of the time when she's profiling, she's actually gets things right on spot. And I love that this time she got it wrong. And you can see that the emotional part it's really getting to her, which we have seen, everybody does. And this is the first time that actually she did it.
And I love that she goes to him at the end with that kind of, that grin of hers and goes, I was wrong. I mean, you and I talk about regularly, admitting you're wrong, moving on, learning from it, et cetera. And so to see Liz just lean forward and go, okay, I was wrong. You're not scared. It was perfection for me. I loved that moment.
And I love Smokey. He was a great character, and I'm looking forward to see the other character, which her name I can't remember. But it was just a great episode. And it's funny because you see the way that Red built his first empire.
It's very exciting as a viewer to basically, we're not getting flashbacks of this. We're getting a first-hand seat of this, of Raymond Reddington building his empire from the ground up. And that's very exciting.
Which character do you want to tackle first?
Let's jump into Liz and Red, because I feel like you can't... there are pieces of that you can tackle individually, but all in all, they were together most of the episode. It was a great episode for them. They were really working through a lot of emotions, especially on Liz's side. Red tends to be kind of a stone wall sometimes with emotions. Even if he looks like he's portraying emotions, you can pretty much guarantee you're not seeing everything that's working behind his mask there.
Mm-hmm.
But you really saw it with Liz, that I mean, just from everything from the "don't treat me like a child" to Red calling her sweetheart to the whole conversation between Liz and and Putnam about Putnam's father. You just
that DNA nature versus nurture.
Yeah, you just saw so much of the father-daughter relationship, and I've been asked multiple times over the summer if I believe 100% that Red is her father. And I stand by, this is what canon has given me. And at this point in the show, going into season 5, I am going to accept this as canon unless they come through and tell me otherwise. Because I've said from the second episode in, I believe this is a father-daughter relationship. Whether it's biological or not, okay. You know, and I've got friends that are on all sides of the equation there. You know, some people think that it is father-daughter, just a relationship. Some people think it's biological. I know people that, you know, are on every ship and every different situation. You know, personally, I am accepting it as, until I'm told otherwise, if I'm ever told otherwise, I'm accepting Raymond Reddington as her biological father.
Yeah, I have a very tough time in imagining any other thing, just because, and regardless of what they did with the old shirt, to me it makes perfect sense. When that shirt was retrieved and Reddington was rescued from the kidnapping situation, that's the moment when they probably did DNA test to make sure that blood, that shirt, was indeed Red. Because why? Because in that moment you get a chain of custody. You have to make sure that shirt retrieved is actually the shirt that Reddington was worn. And if you saw when Cooper takes a little piece, there is already a piece missing. And the reason of that is because they had to make sure that shirt was actually had the blood of Raymond Reddington, because if that was ever used to prosecute Seajuk, that would need to be established.
That's an incredibly good point. That's a very, very good point.
That's the entire point of doing that. And Cooper had worked with a man in Kuwait. He had worked rescuing Red. And I think that as you go, you're going to see that their relationship is a little more intimate than people are thinking. That's what I'm getting from the entire 4 seasons that I just rewatched. So to me, that makes no sense. He knows Red is Red, and he knows that that shirt was from, that blood in that shirt was from Red. That's what he used, that blood, and not any blood that Red could get at it. So to me, that's been proven that Raymond Reddington is Liz Keene's father. And since we know that Liz is Masha because we had Dawn, we have Kate, that's been established. That is the one and the same person.
Yeah, I
so
agree.
At this point for me, they could try pulling something up, and I guess if it's well done, I'll buy it. But as things stand now, I can see no way in which they would be able to pull that, a switcheroo like that.
I agree, and that's about where I come from it. Just, it would have to be very well done, but I know these writers, they're incredibly detailed in the way they lay everything out. They could have another twist. But I also remember an interview, I think it was with Bokenkamp one time, that he was joking. He said, we could hand you all the answers, but would you even accept them? And that's kind of where I feel like we are right now with the paternity question. It's like we've been asking this question so long that it's like the fandom doesn't know what else to do but ask this question. It's just so ingrained in us.
I think that a lot of the people just have not been, again, we've talked about this, about the genre thing, and when you're not used to the genre, you expect answers in a way that are not genre specific. And in this kind of genre, you can expect to have what answers are ambiguous. You just have to put them all together, because one part of the answer may be ambiguous, but if you put them all together, they're not. They're consistent and precise.
You you have to be able to put the puzzle pieces together. They're not going to spoon feed you everything.
No, I don't think that until the end, and maybe not even then. But I'm good with that. And I gotta say, one of the things that I enjoyed the most about this episode was that I feel that I think Liz expressed perfectly when she said, "Because you're my father," and then, oh my God, that sentence and everything that it implies. Because to me, it was very well done. I tell people you gotta do a rewatch of at least the first season, because you're going to see the first season in a completely different light.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
And Liz makes so much sense when you see her in the context of what you know from season 4, that she's always been afraid that it was her father, that she wasn't ready to act or accept that answer. And that is a very, very much, she's very well drawn. That's the way she acted. That's the way she acted with the pregnancy. That's the way she acted when she thought Tom was spying on her. She likes to wait until she's ready to accept something before she goes on and thinks about it.
Yeah. It's like Tom said in season 2, Liz, you're going to do what you're going to do, you always have. And she does have to come to the conclusions on her own.
And Red also said, I can point you to the answers, but you're going to have to find them for yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Because I think that she's always been like that. Ever been a person, even as a child, that would not accept things unless she knew them, unless she found them herself.
And I imagine she has a lot of Katerina in her.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that temper.
Oh, both her father and her husband know it well.
Yep.
Oh, so real fast, I loved this little parallel that I found. With I very much enjoyed the whole. I mean, in writing we call it world building. It's basically what we got in this episode was a world building for Reddington and his world that he lives in, and just the universe that he functions in. We got to see him build that up. But I remember in season 1 there was that lovely scene. I couldn't tell you at the end of which episode. But it's him sitting and laughing with Luli's family. You assume it's her family. I mean, she seems very comfortable there at a Chinese restaurant. And they're drinking and playing cards. Yes. And they're having a good old time and drinking, and I think they were playing cards. It just, everybody was very relaxed and happy, and yet it was business and pleasure and family, and it was just, it was everything mixed into one. I very much got that vibe with Liz included in their last scene together in 501, that, this little get together, the happy hour at this at this motel that he's staying in. And I love how he just makes friends everywhere he goes. He's just such a social person, and I was just cackling in that scene where he's walking to the pool. I mean, we saw so many of these, for those of us that, at one point I actually said, I am not going to watch any more previews. I want something to be fun and new and exciting when I actually watch it live. But when he's walking into the pool, everybody's waving at him, and he's, he knows everybody by name. It's just so Red. And then at the end of the episode, you see everybody sitting around and drinking, and you see the business, new business associates come in. And I love that Liz gets to be a part of that. It's just, there's something very fulfilling there. I know it's going to cause a lot of strife. I know there's going to be a lot of growing and trying to figure out where that balance is. I think this whole season's going to be about her finding her balance. But, and I know that's coming, but for right there in that scene, it just felt so beautiful that she got to sit back, drink a glass of wine out of a, plastic cup in the motel her criminal father is staying at. and mingle with his cohorts. And I love it. It's just so perfect. It just comes around so well to that nice parallel with Luli and her family at the beginning in season 1.
And there was also that thing when you remember in 102, she tells him that she's comfortable there with a glass of scotch, and he will be comfortable in a cave with with rebels and sleeping in the floor.
Yes.
That he is that kind of person, and we see now that going back 5 seasons, that is exactly what it is. Liz was spot on in that initial assessment of Red.
Yes, absolutely. And he is. And he just makes friends everywhere he goes. And a little thing that I picked up on, he said something about the gentleman that owned the establishment he's staying at, they were the same size, meaning somehow this guy had given him clothes, just given them to him. And he'd let him stay past, his ability to pay, because he was paying back rent on it. Landlords don't typically do that. I mean, you're going to have some that will, but most, this is a business. It's, you can't be best buddies with the people that you're renting to. And so the fact that, this guy had been giving him, I can't remember the owner's name, but, the fact that he'd been giving him clothes, that, he let him have an extension on the payment, all of that, it just says so much about Red. Now, to be fair, Red made good and then some. And so I think he just gives that vibe off to everybody that, yes, I'm staying in a motel, yes, I'm wearing borrowed clothes, but guess what? You put in with me. What was it, the comment he made in late season 4? Penny on the dollar,
yeah, I'm a penny stock. You invest in me now, and when I rise, you'll rise with me.
Exactly, and I feel like that's where he's at right now. He is bringing those people in at the ground. It's the ground level of a startup, and when it becomes a Fortune 500, they're gonna rise with him, and that's where he is, and that's where he's going. And people just inherently know this because he just gives that vibe off.
And one of the fun part of it was the way it started, the way he got that cash. He stole this car, and the guy was, oh my God, he just so deserved that. He was so nasty.
That's exactly what the roomies said. So, I was telling Tessa before we started recording, I watched it live, but the roomie has a prior commitment on Wednesday nights at that time. So, she basically gets home a few minutes after the show ends. So my general plan is to watch it live, grab gifts from it, and then sit down with her in the living room and rewatch it while she's watching it the first time, which is a great scenario for me. Perfect. And my Wednesday nights are going to be my favorite nights of the week from now on. But anyway, so we're watching it, and he goes and steals this guy's car, and she's like, you jerk, you totally deserved that. I love it that Red is sitting there and telling the guy that's going to get the cars. He says, some guys say keep it close. I didn't even do that. You know what? Go get your manager. Guy goes off to get the manager. The guy drives up in the red car, and he says, hey, boss, keep it close. I was like, oh, you're screwed, buddy.
Yep. Well, you knew the second that he said that, I knew that guy was going to say keep it close. And it was just perfect. And I love that we brought back one character from season 3, the guy that helped him find the armored vehicle when in one of the season 3, I think it was was it the caretaker? No, it was Solomon. No, it was a caretaker.
I don't remember. Is that who the guy was?
Yeah, that's the guy who was asking for the exchange to know where the armored vehicle came from.
I thought he looked familiar. I love it when Blacklist does that. I love seeing these characters come back. And I would just like to say, as much as I'm going to miss Boz, as much as I'm going to miss Kate, as, all of these people that have, just imprinted themselves on my heart over the last 4 years, and I'm going to miss them horribly. I'm so glad Glenn is not in prison or anywhere else. And I really hope that Glenn is still around, and I think he will be.
Oh, yes, he's coming back on episode 4.
Oh, sweet! Yay!
Yeah, and I hope that they get Marvin out of prison, because he really, he's a great character.
I love Marvin.
And I loved him from, Marvin has to get out. He's great.
He's such a sweet man. It's like he is fully capable of functioning in the criminal world, but he seems like such a good guy in general, which just doesn't mesh well, but it is. It is what it is. I love Marvin.
Yeah, it was, one of the most interesting things to me was, Liz's reactions to Red, as she kind of she's kind of enjoying all these things, and I think as Cooper said, I'm going to have to make this public. She's like, and I could see that for a second she knew that even though she said the opposite to Red, I had a feeling in there that she's going to say, well, I was going to stay here just for a little bit anyway. That I think that she's going to end up being like Red, and I think that maybe she will just try to get Red into doing things a little more legally.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny, because my immediate reaction as soon as Cooper said that is, I hope Tom's papers are all in order, because Liz ain't the only one that has a past. Ugh, her whole family, I swear, we just need a really good forger for that group.
I bet they haven't. One very good in Barso.
Yep, I agree. So what you just said about Liz's reactions to things, I really got the impression that, like you were saying, she got into it, but then she kind of caught herself. Like, she caught herself enjoying it. She would just go along with it, and then she would just stop and give him this look, and you're not doing that. No, we're not doing that. No, we're doing this by the book. You're not going to do that. I'm going to shoot this guy. You're not letting the neo-Nazi walk out of here. We don't let neo-Nazis go. It just... And
I love that she didn't, because she wasn't going to shoot an unarmed man in the back, and at the end, Red was going to get him. And I think that's how Liz is going to be learning. You know what, maybe I need to trust him, and I need to, develop that side of me that is always thinking, 3 steps ahead.
Which is, and we're going to I've got, because Tessa's driving, I have all the notes in front of me. I've got Tom at the end of it, because heaven knows that I'm going to have issues with talking about Tom and everything going on, but just to kind of side table the situation, as she learns to trust Red more, which I agree with you, I think she will. I think she'll learn to balance that better and figure that out. That's going to make what Tom's trying to do more difficult and more terrifying, I think. As she continues to trust Red more and more, because we've seen Liz. I mean, we saw how she was with Kirk. That blood relation is something so strong to her. If she thinks she's blood related to somebody, they're going to get the benefit of the doubt. And she will put herself in danger. She'll lose sight of various things. She doesn't have the best ability to take a step back when it comes to biological family.
I think that also came when she was 4 years old in the fire. I think that's what happened. I think that actually she was left to die in that fire because she tried to save Red.
It'd be interesting. I could see her trying to save Red, even at 4 years old. I mean, it would be a very Liz Keene sort of thing to do.
In my rewatch this time, I was focusing into those moments, and it seems like somebody takes out a gun to shoot Red as he's in the floor, and she brings her arm down, and that's how she got the scar. So it made her brave. It wasn't her father gave it to her. She saved her father with it.
Maybe. That's interesting. I don't think you and I have discussed that theory, but I like it. I do like it.
I think Yeah, I think we're going to see that just as Red has a very strong protecting instinct, I think Liz does too. You know, same thing that she did even when Tom when she shot Tom, and she's just like, no, this is between us, and you know she's not going to shoot him. She's just going to save him.
I agree. I 500% agree with that she has a protective instinct. It's very strong, and she's got a lot of loyalty there. Liz is an incredibly loyal person. She did it with
Kaplan.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What did you think about that whole reaction of the post office to her being announced that Fred is her father?
I feel like it was just kind of coming, you know? Everybody knew it was coming.
The one I loved the most was Aram. Everybody is happy just to have a lawyer. You're a master criminal!
Oh.
It's the kind of thing that makes me like love Aram so much.
Oh, bless him. I feel so bad for him because that came out and his immediate reaction was, crap, do I have to tell Cooper about Samar and me? You know, it's just like, am I doing the wrong
Cooper
thing?
is like, yeah, you're dating? Yeah, okay, well, next thing.
I know.
So that one coming too.
I know. Cooper kind of gives him this, and so? Yeah, that was great. It was so fantastic. And I think Samar kind of knew that everybody knew that was coming, because she's like, we're not breaking any laws here, you know, like, just chill, breathe, you know?
And Ressler didn't even have a reaction. Of course, Ressler had far more interesting things to think about, like, for example, Prescott.
He's been a little bit distracted. Okay, so I think, honestly, like, and I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast recording, that for the majority of the episode, I really felt like it was just kind of a good episode, but not a great episode. And I have a friend that lives over in California, and so she was asking, she goes, how is it, you know, what's going on? And because she couldn't make it to the premiere. And I said, you know, it's good. I said, but honestly, like, Ress is the story I'm invested in for this one. I said, you know, Red and Liz are fun, they're quirky, you know, but it's nothing that, you know, until the end I was like, oh, I now like this more, you know. But Ressler, his story was the one that really caught me for the majority of the episode, because, I don't know, I guess I expected him to have a little more, like, I mean, he was obviously very upset by this. It was weighing on him, but I didn't expect him to be able to put on quite as good of a facade as he did, which I should have, because he's a very talented undercover operative. We saw that in season 1. He's very good at that. He can play a role, certainly. And that's...
I didn't think that. I thought that actually he was so, but it's amazing to me as a character, the development he's had from season 1, when, in my opinion, he was doing a so job at undercover, to this one, he just, I mean, that interview with Cooper, he was awesome.
Oh, yeah, and I sat there watching that and going, you should be a little more nervous, buddy. Like, you're making me nervous with your lack of nervousness. You know?
Well, did you notice also there's that Prescott uses a phrase, and it's unless you go home and start to grow a conscience. Now, remember the last time he said that to Tom.
Yeah.
Since when did you get a conscience? Since I've been hanging with you. So I guess he's lost some of his.
I guess so. Which, I mean, he almost has to work in this world. It's a gray world. You have to look at it in that fashion, and to be able to, and you know, you and I have both been saying for a while now that to be able to survive in this world that they're living in, Ressler has to make some compromises, and it's not going to be easy, it's not going to be painless, but he has to make these compromises. I mean, right now, he's lying to his team, he's been blackmailed by this guy. I mean, he's in a really crappy position, but his two choices are coming clean to his team and possibly putting them in the bullseye with this new director that's involved. I mean, because they're all under scrutiny, so if Ressler comes forward and says, so I kind of killed the national security director by accident, but I covered it up and lied to you all. After everything that's happened, it could really come down on the task force. And so...
Yeah, at this point, they gotta survive.
Yeah, and so, like, it's not reasonable to expect him... I mean, even if he's trying to be selfless, it would still put his entire team in danger to come clean at this point.
Exactly.
And so... But he's also in a really horrible situation, because now Prescott has him, you know, by the neck. And he's gonna... It's not gonna be pretty. It was so funny. During the rewatch with the roomie, I was sitting there and I said, oh, I just want to wrap Ress in a blanket and protect this man. She goes, oh, that's funny, because I want to stick a syringe in Prescott's neck and put an air bubble in his veins.
And I actually love Prescott, because he brought a side of Ressler that I've been expecting to see. And so I'm all on board. I like this Ressler a lot better, because he would have to walk a tightrope to keep some of his principles, because you can't function without any principles. Nobody actually does. Even the characters that some people assume have no principles, they do. They have a set of them. But wrestlers were a little naive, and especially in this genre, in this universe, they were going to get him killed. They were going to get him and his team messed up badly. So I'm happy about Prescott, because he's finally bringing up a side of wrestler in which he will be able to actually become a lot more effective in this world. I could see now him becoming Cooper.
I do agree that he can be a good tool, but he is also a tool, and I don't. From a fan's point of view, I don't like Prescott. From a writer's point of view, he's fantastic. You know, that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Well, I was never a fan of Ressler, the Boy Scout. I always had this image of him with the rubber banding, and I knew that eventually that rubber banding was not going to carry him much further, because he was either going to break or he was going to adapt. And I'm happy that he adapted, because if he had broken, he would have been killed.
Well, I mean, he did break to an extent. I mean, we saw the drug abuse. We've seen multiple things where he tried so desperately to play it by the rules in season 3 and go after Liz, even though he thought she was basically innocent. You know, but still went after her anyway and nearly got her killed. I think that was a big thing with him, and I think Liz faking her death was also a big thing for him. He's had several turning points, but Ress is one of those characters that just because he has a turning point, that it goes to a certain point that the turns are small and they go, like you call it, rubber banding, it comes back. This is the make or break moment. This is where we're going to see Ress. He's been building and building and building. It's come to a point now, and we're going to see what his character's truly made of. And I don't think, in the terms of this genre, in the terms of this show, and the characters and the gray that they play in, you know, being a Boy Scout has its place in life, but in this universe, in this heightened reality that they work in, it doesn't have a place. He's, like you just said a few minutes ago, he's going to get himself and all of the people he cares about killed that way. And so he's going to have to figure out where he fits into it.
Yeah, so that to me was one of the best parts of the episode was Ressler's story. And I was fully expecting that this season he and Cooper are going to have a bigger, and I think Samar and Aram are going to recede, because they had such a huge arc last season.
Well, I mean, Bokenkamp has talked about before that when Saram happens, that's going to be towards the end of the show. And that's been one of my keys, personally, that I think that we're wrapping up. You know, we've got a couple seasons left, and that's where we are. It's because Saram is happening. And so, but the thing is, with that kind of couple, you don't want to make it into a soap opera where it's they got a little soap opera last year with Samar and Aram, where they went back and forth and there was miscommunication, and there are genres that's fine, that's acceptable, that's expected. In the Blacklist, it just bogs you down.
Yeah, it's like, that's enough. You did it. We're good. All right. So they're an item. We can keep going now. We need other. And so Aram got a lot of the story with Janet, with a lot of personal growth. He went from the guy who needed therapy because he killed a terrorist to the guy who kills the Blacklister so that he doesn't get away.
Excuse me. Let me borrow your grenade launcher and just boom, there it goes.
No, not a grenade launcher, a steel titanium run launcher. That is, that guy was not going to survive. There was nothing left of him. So that was awesome. I loved it.
I did too.
A little bit.
That was a fantastic scene.
But so there's like and Samar got a lot of the brother stuff. She got her personal thing, like finishing up basically her Mossad alliances. There's a lot being done there, and I think now it's really time for Cooper and Ressler. They got a little bit sidelined in last season, so I'm really looking forward to this Ressler arc. I think it's going to be phenomenal. In season 3, after Liz is exonerated, or as she's being exonerated, we got a little scene where Ressler gives Cooper back the handling of the task force, and he says, "I'm a door kicker. I can't do this kind of politics things. I leave that to you." And I thought at that time maybe he will. If with a rubber banding and that, he will have to either remain there and he will be killed because his character will have nowhere to go, or he will learn by some means, and then I could see at the end of Blacklist, Cooper retiring and Ressler being the one left in charge of the unit.
Oh, I could totally see that, and I think they are grooming him for that. And I know that some people think that he didn't get a lot in season 4 and in season 3. I disagree with that. I think he had some really good arcs there. But yeah, I completely agree that they're setting him up and they are working through some really good stories here. And we're about to see a lot of growth with Ressler. And it's going to be painful, but I guess at least he doesn't have his father-in-law, coming in guns blazing.
Yeah, well, it's a whole different. He has seen a part of the world that he never quite saw before, and anytime you see that, you're going to see a lot of growth in a character, that they see the previously familiar world and it's no longer familiar.
Yep. All right, well, we've touched on Red and Liz, on Ressler, on Cooper briefly, Samar and Aram. Do we want to move to Tom? You have anybody else?
Yes. No.
Okay, so moving into Tom, when we went into this episode, I was very ready for Tom to be the last scene. I spoke to several friends about it that, I was expecting him to be the last scene. I was glad to see a super brief moment flashing to him with the bones and being at the apartment and such. But I've been saying for weeks now, whenever the preview pictures came out over on Spoiler TV and we saw Liz drawing her gun in the apartment, I said, Tom surprised her. Oops, don't get shot, Tom, And so I was very excited to see I was right on that, because I love that. It's so very spy couple of them. One's trying to be cute and sweet and surprise, and the other draws the gun and goes, "Oh, you're home, yay." But the thing I loved most about that is that tackle hug she did where she just launched herself at him, that was not scripted. Megan improv'd that. She made the comment in an interview the other day that it wasn't scripted, but it just felt so much like them being excited Ryan was back on the show. It was the comment she made. And apparently Ryan read the body language correctly, because he didn't drop her or anything. If he did, then it was cut. But it was such a great scene.
I love the fact that and I said when at the point in the episode, and I'm seeing Red like having this thing to go to, Kentucky. I'm like, this sounds to me like you're trying to get Liz also very distracted as Denver goes and tracks this suitcase. So I'm like, you're doing something, and he completely dropped that act of the happy Red, which I don't think is an act. I think it is what he feels, but he was kind of working towards like, let's get Liz away from the sea, away from everybody. Let's try to get that suitcase. And so I was happy when they had this, like, and he's looking at the bones in the house, and he's like, oh, I don't know. And then, I have to tell you something. And Liz dropped the bomb, and he's like, oh, I don't have the heart to break that bubble now and bring him the bones. She's so happy.
I don't think it's just that. I mean, yeah, to an extent, she's happy, she has answers. But it's also, if you think about how Liz reacted. We talked about it briefly earlier in the podcast. Liz has a very peculiar reaction to blood relationships. She was willing to put everything on the line for Kirk. She was willing to trust him in certain circumstances. She put her own thought process aside. I mean, when Kirk had Agnes, she was 500% convinced he would not harm her. This is the man that eventually stood on the side of on the ledge of the rooftop and threatened to throw her little girl from it. I mean, she does not have the best judgment when it comes to what she believes is biological family. And for some reason, as soon as she thinks she's blood related to somebody, some of her deeper logic gets thrown out of the window. It's just how she is. And to be fair, Tom did a lot of that. I mean, he did a lot of trusting when he shouldn't have. Over on Redemption, when he should have been a lot more skeptical. And, I mean, what could go wrong? Everything. Everything can go wrong, Liz.
Yeah, and also, but I think that a lot of that was that look that he gave, and she was so happy, and she tells him about Red being her father, and she has this big smile in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see, like, Tom immediately went with a foot and pushed the suitcase away from sight.
Oh, yeah, and he was just like, this is not happening now. I think he's wanting to go in and find more information before he gives it to her. And at least give her something to work
and why would anybody trust Kaplan? I mean, that's a woman who was willing to put her in jail. For all he knows, that's going to land her in a lot of trouble. I mean, he doesn't know.
Yeah, exactly. There were a lot of questions, and he's just coming off of a serious family issue. We still don't know if he knows that Kat was referring to Howard or not. We have no idea. I mean, last we saw him with Kat, she was bleeding out on his hotel room floor, with a jump drive. We don't know where it is. We don't know what's going on with it. I mean, we're eventually going to find out, because Spoken can't promise to tie up the loose ends in this season, but we don't know for sure what's going on with that. But regardless, he does know that he trusted at least one parent that lied to him. Potentially trusted two parents that lied to him. And that he believes screwed him over and used him in a very terrible way. And whether they did or not is really inconsequential at the moment, because he feels like he was betrayed. And he's taking that hurt and that pain and that deep emotional scarring that's very fresh into the situation, and his wife says, I found out who my dad is. It's Raymond Reddington. And he's going, oh, well, crap. I know how Liz reacts. I know that Red's not trustworthy in general, and I know that I just got screwed over by one or both of my parents. Yeah, let's find more information out before I hand it over to the person who's already a little emotionally, untrustworthy may not be the best word, but you know what I mean. That Liz tends to
stable or willing. She is so starved origins and what happened. And if you think about it, 4 years of her life and her parents disappear from her memory.
Yeah. Yep. And
I mean, even if you have like vague memories when you were 4 years old, you still have memories. You know that there was something that happened, and then another thing happened, and then another thing happened. You may not remember everything, but you do have a connection to your past.
Most of her memories are violent and painful, and have left deep scars there. So yeah, I mean, it's I don't believe.
Like Lena Creel did. Remember what Dr. Creel said? Early trauma scars in ways that we don't acknowledge, and I think that is absolutely true. There was also the other thing that I was saying about Tom is that fantastic ending. So, do you think that was what's going to happen, or you think it was his fears?
Okay, so here is the path I have gone on. When I watched it the first 2 times through, I thought that was his fear. That was what he was basically envisioning of, okay, I tell Liz, she goes to Red comes in gun blazing and kills me, because that's the easiest route to take, and he hates me anyway. That's what I saw it as a viewer without any outside influence. And I posted that on Tumblr because someone asked me a question, and that was my reaction to it. And immediately I start getting all these, haven't you read Bokenkamp's interview? And I'm like, no, I haven't, because I'm going to bed. Good night. So I read it this morning, and I read Bokenkamp's interview, and I also read, I read Allie Blacklist's theory over on Tumblr, because she'd mentioned it to me, and I went through and looked for it. And I have a couple of other people that I've seen say something very similarly. Chris M23 also had a very similar theory as well. That basically, because Bokenkamp, it was. I felt like, and to be fair, Bokenkamp is always an interview with Bokenkamp, you can never take it at face value. He is the creator of Raymond Reddington, and he proves it in interviews when he confuses us all. And the theory that I very, very much like, and I'm very on board with currently, is that it is not a premonition, but a foreshadowing sort of scene. And Red is not shooting at Tom. That he's actually coming in there to help. It doesn't make any
sense because he comes shooting into the apartment.
And that's exactly what Allie said. Like, why would he walk in shooting with a small child in there that's probably walking by this point, by the way? You know, that very easily could be walking around. I mean, Red's not going to waltz in shooting unless he feels like there's a threat that he needs to. So I think that something's happened that someone... My personal opinion is right now that Tom has a hold of these bones and he has no idea what he's got his hands on. And I think there'll probably be multiple people after these bones. Like, if it gets out that someone has them, I think there's going to be a third party that goes in after the bones, goes in and attacks Tom, and Red's going to come in and save him. Because, and here's the thing, that I've had a lot of people asking about this today. I do not think Tom is going to die. I need everybody on the Tom Keen fan side of the fandom and the Keen Squared side of the fandom to take a collective deep breath in, deep breath out, as many times as it takes for us to chill out. Because Tom is not about to die. This is great writing. It's getting everybody on all sides of the aisle excited and terrified. But I could give you dozens of reasons for Tom himself why. But it boils down to Red and Liz.
Red is not going to kill Tom. The only way that Red were going to kill Tom is if Tom were a threat to Liz. Yes. But at this point, he is giving up basically anything to help Liz, to be with Liz. He has betrayed so many people to be with Liz that doesn't make any sense from the point of view of character development.
That is accurate. But what I was going to say is that Red has promised Liz, has assured Liz that she will have that dream, that fantasy with her husband walking in the park with their child, that family, that peace, that dream that she has. He has said he's going to help her make that a reality someday. If Tom Keen dies, Liz loses that full dream of hers, and Red fails. So basically, even if Red is not the one to kill Tom, if Tom just dies, if he gets caught in the crossfire and takes a bullet to the head, Raymond Reddington fails on just an insane level, because he is not capable at that point of providing Liz with that dream. Because we're going towards the end of the series. Even if she were to be able to find it in her heart to love again, and I really encourage everybody that's listening to this to go check out Chris M23 over on Tumblr. She had a fantastic write-up of why she believes that Liz would basically turn into Red if she lost Tom. Great write-up. Really recommend it. But regardless, let's just take that out of the equation. If for some reason she was able to love again, because many people do. They lose a significant other. They eventually move, do as much healing as they can on it and meet someone else and have a different relationship with them. And if she were able to do that, they've got what? Maybe a season? 2 seasons? Something like that? Okay. They're not going to introduce, after 4 seasons of breaking down a bad relationship, fracturing it into a million pieces, and then taking those pieces and building it back up into something healthy. They took 4 seasons to do this. They are not going to just kill this man and start over with someone else.
Well, it's also, to me, that there is a symbol and theme going on. And one of the things that we have seen that Red actually lamenting his decision of leaving Liz with Sam. He had been, when he thought she died, he basically went to Cape May to kind of look at his life, his choices, Katerina's choices. And what he basically felt is that and he told her, I should have raised you myself. Looking back, I'm not sure that was the best choice, was to leave you with Sam, because Liz grew up not really knowing how and why she was acting the way she acted. So not able to be herself, always was this yearning about her biological parents, because it's what Creel said in that episode, the more you spend time with your parents, the more you understand where you're coming from. You're not coming from a void. So I thought that theme is exactly what makes Liz different from Red, is that Liz can get even and think, okay, this is done. We're done. Now let's move forward. Let's rescue the good from the bad. And I think that when we see Katerina, that's what Red is going to start to do. That's what truth has become elusive. That's what he has gone from, she died of weakness and shame, to I'm not sure what happened to her. Because he has begun to evaluate, did I ever even give this woman a chance to explain? Did I assume that she had just left me die in that fire? I think that we're moving there, where this is where we're going. And what Liz is actually teaching Red, and the reason why Liz is so different, is because she made different choices for Agnes.
Yeah, I agree. We've talked about that before, that while Tom and Liz are kind of a fractured image of Red and Katerina, they're all, and potentially Scotty and Howard, that they are making different choices than their parents made, and in that there's hope for a better and healthier future for them than either of their parents.
And more for Agnes.
Yeah,
imagine Agnes growing up with whatever. First, who's going to be able to take having Red as a father-in-law? That takes a also kind of someone. Then we have Agnes. I mean, what's going to happen when she starts, like, basically being a criminal? She has it on both sides. This is like now 4 sides of criminal parents, of spies, basically a criminal acting for the country.
They've got a complicated family unit.
Yeah. Definitely parties will be exciting. So I think that there is, there is a possibility, and I admit to that there is a possibility that Tom will be killed. I also think that it's probably a mislead. To be fair, we haven't had many misleads with Tom. We had one at the end of season 1 when everybody thought that he was dead. Then he reappeared like halfway through the season. So I think that we will see that, and Tom has always been a way of moving the action forward because he's such a fascinating, polarizing, dynamic figure and a distorted mirror to Katerina.
And he just gets people talking. I mean, the people that hate him are thrilled right now. The people that love him, a lot of them are terrified right now. I mean, and then you've got me, who's over here going, I'm just here for the ride. I love Tom. He'll be fine. They're gonna beat the crap out of him, but he'll be fine. It's just another season of the Blacklist and using Tom as the punching bag.
Yeah, and I have a theory about those the bones and the suitcase. To me, you have Kate, right? Who was, and I'm saying in love, not as a sexual romantic way, but in a way, Katerina seduced Kate. She seduced him with bodies and babies. Everything that she loved was right there, and I think that if Kate has thought that Katerina was still alive, he would have started looking for her. And that's something that they could not afford. So I think that at some point, Rick produced a body telling her that that's Katerina, that he found her and he just buried her, but nobody can know. So she was put in a suitcase and buried, because when she was buried by that tree was a small tree. That's 25 years ago. That's after the fire. So I think that or in 1997 or whatever, that has been there for a long time. So to me, when that body those bones start to be analyzed, what's going to happen is they're not Katerina. And now people are going to say, okay, Katerina is not dead. Yeah. Because why would I? And I think that the thing is the suitcase. I think the suitcase is going to give a link to Katerina, and then the bones will not be Katerina because it will not match Liz, which will give plenty of lovely things that Liz is not Masha, and the whole thing will be delightful. And then we'll be back into, okay, now Katerina's enemies are coming for her.
Yeah. I could definitely see it panning out that way. It's going to be a wild season.
Yay! I'm so excited with the season. It just, it keeps getting better and better. And I tell people, if you think that the Blacklist doesn't have a good writers, go back to season 1 because you'll be shocked.
You've got to watch you've got to watch the whole show. This is not a show you can cherry pick on. I mean, you've got to watch every scene, and I have no idea. Like, I feel like people that casually watch this show probably see it very differently than I do.
Well, I have my litmus test, and that's my sister, and she called me and asked me, what explain some things, because someone said, I didn't get it quite. So I think when you're a casual viewer, you're going to get some things, you're not going to get others. I wouldn't certainly not expect most people to watch it like we do. It's a bunch of nut jobs if you really think about it. We're having a great time with it. But,
yeah, we're crazy. I mean, I'm fully willing to admit that.
Yeah, but it's, we have a lot of fun, and we're appreciating the show. But I think that show is going to do much better or it will do incredibly well once it's over and people will watch again to find all the stuff they missed. like people had to watch The Sixth Sense like maybe 3 times to actually realize that he didn't talk to anybody. Nobody had answered him.
I've never actually seen The Sixth Sense. It was ruined for me before
Oh,
I
you
saw
have
it.
to.
Well, it was ruined for me before I ever saw it, so I just never saw it.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't ruined because even when you watch it, you realize the artistry of filming that, and not. It wasn't obvious that nobody talked to him.
I don't know. I haven't seen it, so maybe someday.
Yeah.
I'm one of those.
This was to me it was a phenomenal episode. Love to see everybody's, it's being a revamping. Yes, I see the kind of season 1, but this is lighter because now both Red and Liz have found, Red is closer to getting home. Liz is closer to getting home.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be a brilliant season. I'm very excited for it. I'm more stressed out about fandom stuff than I am about actually losing Tom or losing anybody huge. Because, while there are going to be deaths, they've been very good since Mira about not... I feel like I should find some wood to knock on here. They've been pretty good about not killing, because we've got a small cast. We really do. We have a small main cast, and there's only so much death that can happen there.
I thought for a while that if Ressler didn't go somewhere, they might kill him, because with a rubber banding, there was only so much of it you can do before it become formulaic. And I was hoping that they went this direction, and they didn't. That's why I love Prescott.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah. Prescott, thank you. You've kept Ressler on. Thank you for torturing our baby. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, he's good.
All right. Well, I think
he can take it. And now,
I think that about wraps us up. Do you have anything else?
No, I think that is good. We'll see you if you have any questions or you want us to expand anything. Just let us know. We'll be happy to.
Yeah, but we love theories and character development and all the sort. You can catch us on YouTube, iTunes, and SoundCloud. And if you ever want to leave us a message, which we thoroughly encourage, we love talking with you guys. If you follow me on Tumblr, you know that I will chat with pretty much anybody. I just love talking to people about fandom stuff. And Tesla's nice too. Tessa is nice too. I keep trying to run my words together tonight. It's not a good wordsing night.
That's okay. Not as nice as you, but yeah. I am happy to discuss theory with anybody.
Yeah, that was the point I was trying to make. Go discuss theory with Tessa as well. She will make your mind explode. In a good way.
So hopefully we'll see you next week.
Yep, and you can leave us those messages on Tumblr, Twitter, and Facebook. And we'll see you next week. All right.
All right. Bye-bye.